Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to continue our discussion with the Regression Suite automation tool. And today what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the Warehouse App Task Validation tool. So what this thing allows you to do is it allows you to create task recordings for the Warehouse mobile device and use those with the RSAT tool. Now, normally when I do these videos, I tell you that, whatever functionality we're doing is easy. Just, you can do it. It's pretty simple. Now, this is pretty what I would call fiddly. You do have to go in and edit some XML to get this to work. So to me, it's not the easiest tool to use. But I'll try and give you some tips along the way, and you can make your own mind up as far as how this thing works or doesn't work for you. Okay, so we'll just say that up front. To me, it is a little fiddly, and you have to kind of play with it a little bit to get it to work. If you disagree or if I'm doing something wrong, please comment below in the video comments. I'd love to hear what you say if I'm doing something completely wrong here. Okay. Now I will say that this tool is available on tier 1 environments. So if you're on a tier 2 or higher environment, you're not going to see this tool. You just won't have the option, the menu option to do it. From what I read, it was a security risk. Microsoft determined it was a security risk, and they didn't want to put it in the upper environments. Okay, so you do have to be in a tier 1 environment before you can use it. Okay, so let's talk about it. So if we go over here just to start off, the purchase order examples I'm going to be using, I've got 2950 and 51 here, and 51 is exactly the same. So I've got an A0001 here on it, and this one's got a quantity of 1 on it. I think 2951 has got a quantity of 7 on it. We'll see that in a minute. It really doesn't matter, but I'm just going to, for right now, I've got the same PO number and what we're going to use. So we'll have those two POs there. Okay. So let's take a look at the tool itself. If we hop on over to Warehouse Management, and then it's under Periodic Tasks, and here it is, Warehouse App Task Validation. And it is kind of a two-step tool. So you're going to see we're going to create the steps on the mobile device, and then we're going to do the recording to record it. So there's a whole process here of having it capture what you're doing on the mobile device, and then what you do is you turn that into a recording. So it's not like we're doing the recording all at once and actually recording what's on the mobile device. So just kind of stick with me here for a minute there while I show this here. Okay, so what we want to do when we come in here, we're going to create on a new task. And we're going to do a PO receive task. We're going to do PO receive. And then important is put in user ID. So the user ID is going to tell it what user to use on the mobile device, or what mobile device user to use. Now, I will tell you that this only seems to work with the actual app, the Warehouse mobile app. It doesn't work with the device portal. Okay, or as far as I can do. Again, if you figured out a way to do it, please comment below, and I'd like to look at it. So, I'm going to put my user ID here that I'm going to use on the mobile device. All right. Now, once you get to that point, what you really need to do on your mobile device is go ahead and cancel out of everything, get back to your main menu. And one thing you want to do too is, if you do log out straight from a menu, you come back to the screen you were just in, you do want to cancel and get out to your main menu and then log off, because it's going to record your exact steps. So you don't want to hop out inside a menu and then have to back out of that menu and go forward, right? So you just want to make sure that you're doing exactly what you want to do from login to finish, right? So once we've got our mobile device set up, what we're going to do is we're just going to hit the start recording button. And it'll tell you it's going to delete any previously recorded steps on this one. So just go ahead and say yes to that. And then it'll say recording in progress. So what this is doing now, it's going to wait for you to do some stuff on the mobile device. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we'll go ahead and sign in. And it's important to kind of note what steps you are performing. So we've got a login there, and then we're going to go to this PO receiving by item. Then we're going to go to the PO number. And the PO number is going to be, let's go ahead and capture that real quick. Sorry about that. Go ahead and grab that PO number here, copy that, and we'll go ahead and put in our PO number, hit OK. And then our item is going to be an A0001. And then we're going to go ahead and put in our quantity of 1, like that, and then we're going to hit OK. And so that's going to be our task recording, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our task validation tool. We're going to hit stop recording. And the first thing you're going to see is going to have the steps down here. So the first thing that I like to do is just kind of rename these steps. I don't generally like how this does. So the first one here, we logged in, we went from the login screen to the main menu, and then this one's okay. Went from the main menu to the PO receiving item. And if you remember, the first thing we did was we entered the PO number, and then next thing we did was enter the item number. And the next thing we did was enter the quantity. Then the next thing we did was receive the item, right? So it's just helpful to rename these because you'll see in a minute that it's just helpful to kind of understand where you're at in the process here. Okay, so the next thing that I generally do is I'm gonna go ahead and save that. And the next thing I do is I'm gonna go ahead and generate variables here. All right, so go ahead and hit yes there, and it's gonna generate some variables for us. Now, what it's doing is, when it's capturing each of these steps, is basically when the mobile device is running, all it's doing is passing XML back and forth between the mobile device and D365. So if we look down here at the steps, all these things are just XML files that we're passing back and forth. So if I open this one up, click on View XML, that's just the XML that it's sending when I'm doing the enter PO number. All right, so when I generate variables, what it's trying to do is it's trying to generate variables and insert those variables inside the XML. So for example, when the XML sends the PO number, it'll send whatever PO number we have in the variable. Okay, now this is going to be the tedious part, is this variable part. This is the part I've not really found a great way to do it other than just to dig in and do it. So again, bear with me here. This is kind of wild. So normally on the menus here, I don't really have any variables in the actual menus. And where my first variable is going to be is in the enter PO number. Okay, so if I click on View XML, we'll kind of see that in here. So if I scroll up, and what we need to do is just kind of find where it entered the PO number. So see right there, it's put that at PO number var, and it's going to match with this PO number var here. So basically, it's going to substitute that value in here, okay, for the PO number. Now, what I've found was each one of these subsequent steps also has the PO number in it, and it doesn't update the PO number in those subsequent steps. And the same thing goes for item number. So the item number first appears in here. It'll capture the item variable here, but the item also appears in these subsequent steps. It won't capture those in the XML, right? At least I've not found a way. And same thing with the quantity. It's going to first appear here. You'll see a variable for it, but then in this receive item, the quantity is going to be here as well, and it's not going to do the variable. So generally what I would do, the very first thing that I would do if I were you is I would open up Notepad here, and I'm going to slide that to the left here. And what I would do is, today, as far as variables are concerned, I'm just going to substitute the PO number, the item, and the quantity. You'd really want to do all of these, but because these are the different values that you could change depending on the test. But just for my test, I'm just going to do the PO and the item and the quantity just so you can kind of get it here. So what I would do is I would copy these variables. I'm going to copy and paste these off screen into my my Notepad here. And the reason why I'm doing this is these are case sensitive, right? So I've found that if I don't do this, I end up screwing up the case sensitivity of the variable, or I put the variable in there wrong, or just something like that, something stupid like that, and it screws and takes me forever to figure out. So I found that if I open up Notepad, copy the variables in here, and then I just copy them off the sheet when I'm doing them. Okay. So off to the side here, just know I'm going to have this sheet here, and I'm going to be copying my variables off there. All right. So like I said, we've got these two main menus, or these two menus, and there's no variables in there. In the PO number, I can pretty much know that I'm only entered a PO number, and that variable is already set. So let me show you what I'm talking about as far as the PO number here in this item number one. So if I click on the View XML, and if we scroll up, so it always just starts at the bottom, we'll find the PO number right there. You see how it's written in plain English right there, the PO instead of the variable? So what we want to do is I'm just going to go off to the side here and copy my PO number variable, and we're going to paste that in there. We still want the quotes, but see, I put in the PO number variable. And if we scroll down, we'll probably find the item variable. See, it's in there. And so now I've gotten PO and item, and then go ahead and hit OK. All right, now the next one is going to be the quantity. So if we get the view XML here, we'll know that kind of the quantity variable is going to be in there, but we're going to have to find our PO variable. So see, there's our PO variable again. I'm going to go ahead and just take that right there, paste that in that variable, and then now if we scroll down and look for item, we'll see our A0001 item in here, and so there's the A0001. So what I'm going to do is copy my item variable, and then come in here, and we'll paste that in there like that. Paste that in there, and go ahead and say OK. And then on the last one, so we'll have, in the very last one, we'll have PO number, item, and quantity. So if I come into the item one here and go to the XML, we'll come up and we'll find, let me go ahead and copy my PO number variable because I know I'm going to need it first. We'll scroll up to the top, we'll go to our PO number, paste that in there, and then I know I'm going to need my item variable next, so I'm going to copy my item variable from my notepad, scroll down, there's my item, paste that in there. And the quantity one's a little hard to find because it's a 1. So what I do, so here's the description. So we know probably quantity came after description. There's the line number. Okay, then there's the quantity, and here's the data, which is the 1. So this is the one you kind of have to look for there, and we'll say okay to that one. All right, so then I'll hit save there. Now I will say, once you get used to kind of finding these, it's not that hard to find them, but I have had to, on some of these, copy all that XML, put it in a notepad, open it up in an Excel editor, or an XML editor, so I can just see the different nodes on the XML to find what I'm looking for. So don't feel bad if it takes you a while, because some of these times it's hard to find some of these variables and what it's doing. Okay, so the next thing that I do here is I want to just validate my variables work correctly and everything's in there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to run this. So with the same data. So this is so right now, it's 2950 is the PO received. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in this PO here, and I want to use the same one. So I'm just going to go back here to the registration, and I'm going to remove this registration here just so I can receive against it again. And then what I'm going to do here is I just want to run this and make sure I don't get any errors. So I'm going to come up here, click on Run Task, and we'll go ahead and run test. And let's go through and see, now I've got all check marks. Now, if you've messed any of the variables up, you'll get an X instead of the check mark. You'll get an X in the box. And basically what you have to do is go back and look at the XML again, see if you've maybe put a variable in the wrong place, you're not matching case. And it actually, for example, if this item fails, the error can actually be up here. Like it can be in this one leading to this test. So I generally check the one that it errors on first to see if I see any issue, and then I'll check the one right above it. And 99% of the time, or at least actually 100% of the time, it'll be in one of those two places generally, right? I guess if you had something error way back up at the top and you put in the wrong value, it would cascade down and maybe not see it then. But generally, it's in those one case around it, okay? So now we know that our variables kind of work. So what we're going to do now is I want to check it, just test it on a different PO just to make sure. So 2950 it ran, and then my next one was, let's see, 2960. I think I need to refresh the screen here. All right, so 51, sorry, I knew this one after that. So we'll open this one up, again, same PO. I've got a quantity of 7 on this one, so let's just, for fun, let's just let's do a different PO number, and we'll do for quantity of 7 and see if it registered. Let me check my registration on here. I've been playing around with this today, so I don't know if I've got this registered or not. So, okay, so I've got none registered at this point. So let's go back here, and let's go ahead and put in our PO, our 2951, and then our quantity, we're going to make that 7 there, and we'll go ahead and save it. So this time, instead of running on 2950, it's going to run on 2951, and instead of using 1, it's going to use 7. All right, so we'll go ahead and run this one, and we'll go ahead and run test. Okay, now it all passed, and generally, I did do it on the last one, but generally I like to come in here and just make sure, whatever you're doing, just make sure that it actually did update it, so you see now this is registered. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove this registration again, just because we're probably going to use this PO in a minute, so we're back to ordered on that one. All right, So like I said, this is a multi-step process. So all that part right there is just getting the app task ready to be recorded, right? So what we're going to do now is we're going to actually record the process using Task Recorder, so then we can use it in RSAT. Okay, so let's take a look at how we do that. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do the actual task recording. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into Task Recorder, and I'm going to go to Return Main Menu. Oh, I've got one in here from previous. I'm going to say no, I don't want to do that. We'll create recording, and the recording name, I'm going to call it WMS Receive PO. We'll go ahead and hit Start. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to perform our steps. We're going to go to our Warehouse App Task Validation tool. I'm going to go ahead and hit Edit here because I'll need that in a minute. And then, so whenever we're running these you might have different tasks in this list. Right now we've only got one, but anytime you have a list of values, you always want to make sure you filter it. So I'm going to filter this to PO Receive. That way you're ensured when this runs that you're going to get the correct one. So I got PO Receive there. So now when I run this, it's going to be the exact one. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to filter these variables here because when the parameter file gets updated, I want to be able to say I'm going to enter these values in the parameter file. It'll make a little more sense in just a second, but let me just filter these variables here for us. So the first one I want to filter down to is PO num var. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put 00002951. All right. And then let's go ahead and we'll filter to, the next one is going to be item ID var. If I can type today. All right, and then we're going to just put in our A0001. All right, and then we're going to filter down to our quantity, which was our QTY var. Apply. And we're just going to put our 7 back in there. Okay. So that's just going to help us in a minute on the parameter file, and I'll show you what I'm talking about more there in a minute. It's just going to give us something to type into in a minute. All right, so once we do that, we're going to go ahead and we'll hit Run Task, and then we'll go ahead and run the test. All right, it succeeded. Now the last thing I generally do is I flip down each one of these steps, go to Task Recorder and Validate. Current value. And I do that for each one of these because I want to make sure that each one of these actually passed. So basically, when I do RSAT, when I do this, if any of these fail, it's going to basically fail the test for me there. So that'll know that failed. Right, current value, run down here, Task Recorder, validate, current value, Task Recorder, validate, current value. Okay. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and stop this one. And if you remember from the task recording video, I'm going to do this basically where I'm saving directly to Azure DevOps. So I want to download this as a developer recording here. And there's our item here. So I'm going to show that in the folder. And so we've got our item here. And so what I'm going to do is I've already, in my test plans, I've already got a test case for this. I've created it and named it. So I want to go ahead and I'm just going to copy this in here, move that into that folder there, and I'll save and close that one. All right, so let's roll over to our RSAT tool now. And I'm going to go ahead and load these test plans, and I should see it download now. All right, so here's our WMS Receive PO one, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create new test execution parameter files on this one. Give it a second there. We should see it create the parameter file. All right, and there it is. And then let's go ahead and take a look in Excel and take a look at this one. All right, so if we go over to the test case steps, here's our different, this is why we were filtering here. So we were getting our quantity and our item and our all the different things. And here's our validation steps that these are all set and true. So we're good to go here. All right, so we've got our test that we can run. So what we can do here, we can change our values here. So if we want to make this back to 2950, we'll change this back to 1 to test it. Let's go ahead and save that. And then let's go over to a purchase order and we'll pull up our 2950 PO. And I think I've got that one registered right now. So we're going to update line and registration. We'll remove that registration if we don't. Yep, so let's go ahead and remove that registration. Confirm that. We're back to order. Okay. So now what we can do is, now generally what we do, you'd have the create, confirm, and again, I showed you in the other video how to link these together. But what we're going to do is we're just going to run this one here, okay? Just to show you what it's going to do. So let's go ahead and run it and see what happens. Let's go ahead and let that update. Sorry about that. And we'll let this run. And so what we should see this do is it'll launch into our app task validation tool. And it will set our different variables. Give it a second here. So there it's in our tool. It's filtering. It's going to set our different variables for us. So there it's setting the 50 and changing to 1. Then it's going to run the test. It's going to run it, and then it's going to validate each step. It's validating each one of them. There we go. And it's run, and that's going, it should pass for us here in just a second. Okay? So then we get the pass result there. Okay? So I know this is kind of a long video, and it is, like I said, it's kind of fiddly, right? I understand it. If you're not used to dealing with XML files, it can be kind of crazy to try and edit these things, but it is something that you can use with the RSAT tool if you're using Advanced Warehouse and you want to define the processes for Advanced Warehouse. Now, something I didn't show you, you can actually set up validation rules for each of the steps. But to be honest with you, that to me really gets crazy when you start trying to do that. So I generally will let the Warehouse Mobile run and then do some step after it to check, maybe the registration or just see if something fails at the end. I don't generally validate the actual lines on the app tool there. Again, there's different videos out there that you can see how to do that if you want to do that. But like I said, generally, I don't do that in there because it gets really crazy on trying to set that up. Okay, so if you disagree with that, again, comment below. I'd be glad to hear what you have to say on that, just to see how you're using the tool and everything like that. Okay, so I hope you found some value in this today in this video. If you're using the RSAT tool and you do use Advanced Warehouse, this is a way that you get the Warehouse Mobile device hooked into your RSAT process. So again, if you liked it, please give it a like or thumbs up. Feel free to again comment below. I know this is there's a lot of stuff in here that maybe I kind of skipped over. Comment below on how you're using this RSAT, this app task validation tool if you're using it yet, and just let me know what you think about it. All right, appreciate that. All right, so if you like this content too, I put out one of these videos at least once a week. Please feel free to subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you'll get notified when I upload a new video. Again, I do it once a week on all sorts of different Dynamics content there. Okay, so until next time, thanks for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.